No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, good morning. How we doing? Happy Wednesday to you. Happy game day to you here at Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com, the social media channels of Bronco Nation News. We're also streaming on the KTIK social media channels today, so make sure you also subscribe to the YouTube channel and Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff for KTIK. You can see their daily video segments as well if you subscribe to both, and just turn on those notifications so you know when both KTIK or BNN are live on YouTube, and then you can watch our videos anytime, any place. We got Mike Prater with us for a rare Wednesday appearance. I'm not sure if folks were expecting to turn on BNN live on a Wednesday and see Mike Prater, but I know it just brightened their day with all this snow outside. How we doing, Mike?
Nothing like a little snowstorm, nothing like a little Prater on a Wednesday. So sorry to ruin people's day, but let's have some fun today. I know there's a big game tonight and lots of issues to talk about. I'm fired up for this one. Let's get after it.
We have a big basketball game tonight. A nice hat, by the way, Mike Prater. I'm liking the new hat there.
Somebody may have dropped it off for me yesterday. Thank you very much, BJ Rains.
You had
look at my hat. I like it. Look at that.
Yeah, that's a nice hat. You went with the rope hat. You had your choice of any of the three, and that's the one you picked. So don't say I never did anything nice for you there, Prater. Remember that.
I'm always going to pick black. You know, black it works for me. So black is good, and this is a good looking hat. So
when you ask for your next raise, just remember you got the hat. So now I just went just for fun, Mike Prater. We got a lot of basketball to talk about. We're going to hear from Alvaro Cardenas, Leon Rice. Talk about tonight's game, some big picture stuff. Brad Bedell is going to join us about 9:45. We're only a little over 2 weeks away from the start of spring practice as well, and I want to get Brad's take on some of the talk about the new playoff format maybe and some other things with Brad coming up. So we will have football talk with Brad Bedell coming up a little later in the show. But I just went to my old local neighborhood bookies website here, Mike Prater. Boise State, 4.5-point favorite tonight against the New Mexico Lobos at home. New Mexico is first place in the conference, 22-4. They have lost one game in the last 2 months. They have one loss since mid-December, and they arrive in Boise as 4.5-point underdogs. Your first thought is, take New Mexico and the points all the way to the bank. I mean, based on how teams have been playing, but sometimes Vegas knows something. New Mexico's dealing with a couple injuries. Maybe some guys don't play tonight. I don't know, but 4.5-point favorites tonight at home for Boise State.
Wow, I did not see that coming. Although, you know what? I mean, Leon Rice is always the counterpuncher. He's the tough guy that grew up in the central desert of Washington and shoots himself in the knee, rubs dirt on it, and moves on. I wouldn't be surprised if they won tonight's game. 4.5-point spread coming out of Vegas, though, is a little bit shocking. I don't think Boise State's lost a home game since San Diego State, like on January 3rd or 4th, whatever that day was. Is that their only home loss of the entire season? So they play well at home, although the crowd and the crowd factor, the enthusiasm factor, isn't as strong as maybe as it could have been earlier on in the season. I'm very curious to see what kind of atmosphere is going to be in there tonight. The atmosphere could be the difference. When Boise State's got it going on with a big high-profile opponent, and they're usually against the ropes, they come out fighting really, really hard, and this is what this team does well. So I know we're going to break it down here, but that Vegas number surprises me a little bit. I wouldn't have been surprised if you told me Vegas that if New Mexico was favored by 4.5, let alone a 4.5 point. That's a 9-point swing. That's crazy, BJ. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, the Ken Pom number did have Boise State by 2, so I thought there was a chance Boise State might be a slight favorite or it'd be a pick 'em or something, because usually they're within a point or two of each other. But the fact that Ken Pom has it at 2, and then the Vegas line right now is 4.5. I mentioned CJ Nolan, kind of the sixth man for New Mexico, suffered concussion, or at least looked like concussion protocol in their last game on Sunday. He left the game and did not return, so they're not sure if CJ Nolan, a solid sixth man, averaging like 8 points a game, if he's going to be able to play. And then Mustafa Amzil, a starter of theirs, one of their better players, I think he's third or fourth on the team in scoring. He's missed 2 of the last 3 games with a foot injury. They were still able to win the game without both those guys against Utah State. So still a very, very talented team. And if they don't play and Boise State wins, I mean, it's not going to be if Donovan Dent doesn't play, then we can talk about it. But if Donovan Dent and Nelly Jr. Joseph both play, I don't care. It's still a very solid win if Boise State finds a way to get it. But certainly not having, your sixth man and another starter would certainly be a big benefit to a Boise State team that is desperate for a win tonight. And yeah, if you just said, hey, New Mexico is coming in here favored by 4, you just said, that seems a little, that seems about right. And, I'll go ahead and post a Facebook poll here while you're giving your next response here, Mike, but I am curious, and I'll post it here in a second. Like, would anybody feel really good about putting, more than $20 down on Boise State minus 4.5 tonight? Because even the most diehard Boise State fan, I can't imagine would feel, super crazy about not only winning tonight, but having to win by at least 5 to cash a bet. That seems a little high, but you know what? Like, that's why Leon and Alvaro, that's why they were pretty positive yesterday. And that's why I think they still feel like the metrics. I know you have to play the game on paper, and they may have played their way out of this thing just because of the sheer number of losses they have at this point. But somebody likes Boise State. If you're playing the first place team in the conference and you're favored by 5, and as you said, Mike Prater, the home court, which we are going to hear from Cardenas talk about that in a second, and Leon, it has been big, but it's not what it's been in the past. But Boise State still has only lost 1 home game this year. They have, Mike Prater, won 6 in a row against New Mexico inside ExtraMile Arena.
That's right.
So maybe that's something odds makers were looking at too, that New Mexico traditionally hasn't played well up here. But this is a different New Mexico team than we've seen in previous years too. But some respect from the odds makers for Boise State tonight.
Yeah, it certainly gives a little bit of intrigue to a game that's very intriguing here in Boise, Idaho, for a lot of different reasons. So I cannot wait to see how this thing plays out. And it's always interesting what the guys in the desert say in terms of that kind of number. But Boise State again, they're going to put up a fight. Now, I think that there's a chance that there's a really good chance they're going to win this game. But doing it by 5 points, that's a big number. I'm not going to put my $20 down on there, but I'll certainly be keeping track of that. That'll be fun to watch tonight.
In terms of this team coming out, I mentioned they don't typically lose back-to-back games very often, Mike Prater, and especially in conference play. It's been a nice trade of Leon's where, for the most part, when they lose, they bounce back.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of that has to do with the schedule and who you're playing, and they lost the New Mexico game. had to go to Colorado State and lost, and that's the first time. That did happen this year, but obviously we're a shot away from winning, or a rebound away from winning that game. It didn't happen, or maybe happened once last year. I don't think it happened the previous 2 years, but they typically don't lose a lot of back-to-back games. This could go one of two ways tonight. They could come out and get crushed, and the season's over, and they've given up, and it's it's rock bottom again, or they could come out and play well and win the game and get a nice, win they badly need, and then maybe try to get some momentum going here down the stretch. I mean, knowing this program, knowing Leon Rice and your gut feel tonight, do you feel this is a game where they kind of get a little momentum, or could you see this going the other way? I mean, this is a big kind of swing game here for the rest of the season.
Yeah, if you had to tell me who's going to win this game tonight, obviously I'm going to pick New Mexico. I just think that they've got too much going on, and they're a good team, and the matchup's not great for Boise State. Now, if Boise State can survive the first half, unlike they did in Albuquerque, where they got quote-unquote punked, that was the infamous Leon just sitting in the second half giving up look. And, I had a chance to talk to him about that afterwards. He said a bunch of his friends called and said, dude, you look like you're a down guy. And he didn't really realize it at the time, but that was a bad beating. And so I think that's going to work both ways for this team tonight. One, the matchups, the X's and O's, the smart basketball money says, New Mexico's a better team, and then there's no way they should lose. But we all know that Leon's a tough guy, and we all know that this is a tough basketball team. I don't care how bad this team has looked at times, and it hasn't. I know we're kind of pushing some panic button words here, but this team, when it does look bad, they always fight hard, except for that last play against Colorado State where they kind of hit rock bottom. They kind of gave up on that last play. But this team fights hard. It works hard. It hustles hard. It has all the intangibles you want, and you know that Leon Rice's teams are going to have some kind of a say in the matter at the end of the day. So I think New Mexico probably wins this basketball game, but Boise State plays hard, plays well. They make a big-time improvement from the final score in Albuquerque and make this one competitive, especially right off the bat. I think this is going to be a haymaker of a game, a heavyweight title fight, and I'm looking forward to it. I think the atmosphere is going to be fun, and the game itself is going to be fun. I think it's a close, competitive game, but at the end of the day, I think New Mexico wins it. They're just too darn good right now.
And I think that's perfectly the logical side to take. Boise State's going to play well, compete, but the team that's in first place and has a 2-game lead and is almost ranked in the top 25, I don't think that's crazy to say they're going to come in here and win the game. And especially when you look at Boise State playing New Mexico last time, it certainly didn't go well. And it's kind of becoming the talking point. Boise State 0-5 against the teams ahead of them in the standings, 9-0 against the teams below them in the standings, Mike. But 4 of those 5 were on the road. So they do get, and so they were underdogs in those games. So you could say the way they lost maybe was, the part that stands out in some of these games in terms of the blowouts or whatever. But in the end, since conference play have started, they've beaten the bad teams. And the big thing this year is they just haven't gotten any of those big road wins they've gotten in years past. They were 7-2 last year on the road in Mountain West play. And this year they just, the Utah State game, the shot goes against them. Colorado State shot goes against them. And then they're non-competitive in the other 2 for the most part. So, it's just been one of those years where just they haven't been able to get the big road game. And with that said, you obviously have to take care of the home games, down the stretch here. We do have the poll up there on the YouTube chat. I'm very curious. The Bronco Nation YouTube, it's simply put, what would your bet be tonight? Boise State -4.5, New Mexico +4.5. And I'm curious, be honest with that. Even if you're the biggest homer of a Boise State fan, I can't imagine, Mike, that a lot of fans would feel really confident about laying 5 points tonight.
If you're looking for value, and I hate to say this, but if you're a good gambler, and I'm not, so take it for whatever it's worth. But if you're a good gambler, you're always looking for the best value. The best value here is just taking New Mexico on the money line. The 4.5 points, that's going to get you a couple of extra bucks along the way. New Mexico on the money line. New Mexico doesn't need the 4.5 points. They're either going to win this game
plus 165.
Yeah, 160. So that's the money line bet, 165.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's there's some decent value there, and I can see New Mexico just winning this game outright without the 4.5 points. So that makes a lot of sense. But I wonder if any of the basketball guys look at that and kind of get motivated by that, and kind of wonder how that is. I'm talking about the New Mexico guys. How do we wake up? How are we 4.5 point favorites tonight? Let's go out and take care of some business. There's probably one guy out there thinking that.
You had a question on your Twitter feed about Leon Rice and fatigue, I think was the word you used. And it kind of we'll get to that in a second. I want to start with the crowd and the attendance. And that kind of, I think, goes hand in hand really with that. But Ray on here says snow, late start Wednesday equals no students and no crowd. I have a weird feeling there actually will be a crowd tonight. I think fans are going to show up tonight. I think whether it's just to see Donovan Dent or New Mexico, or this is a game that I think people probably for the most part bought tickets for a long time ago, Mike Prater. And if you've got the tickets, I think you're going to come. We still have the issue with the season ticket holders and the lifetime people not showing up. You're going to have empty seats. I don't understand why if you have tickets, you wouldn't just give them to somebody else. I saw some guy yesterday, maybe he was just being facetious, saying on the chat, I got plenty of friends that aren't going and don't plan to give their tickets away. Like, why would you not? If you're not going, give the tickets to someone else that would want to go. I don't understand that part, but the overall attendance, like I will still say, even some of like the games where you wouldn't expect it, a Fresno, Wyoming, a San Jose, like the third deck's got fans in it. Like, they're getting crowds, and I know they announced the crowd is not actually what the crowd is, not even close. They're doing the how many tickets did they sell versus how many people actually show up. So I get it. They announced 10,000, probably had 6,000 for some of these games. I understand that. The student section has been the big one to me. I mean, the Fresno State game, school's in session. It's a Saturday afternoon at 2:00, and there literally were maybe 30 students at the entire game. And in the rest of the student section were non-students. I saw our friend Connor Johnstone. I posted a picture of the student section, and Connor Johnstone being said student section being led up front by the seniors. And you look down, it's like senior citizens sitting in the front, not seniors. So that's the one that I think after the season, there's going to have to be some bigger picture talks with, the administration and the students, and how do you get more students? I mean, just a couple years ago, Mike, the students would pack that place. I remember some big games against San Diego State and some of these where they were standing all game and the students were here and not into it. And for whatever reason this year, they just haven't had the student turnout. They haven't had the generic turnout. And to me, so fans have showed Mike Prater, but I don't feel like they're getting as into the game or making as much noise. And man, I feel bad. I feel so bad for Joey Jenkins because someone's telling him to do it, but he's basically begging fans to stand up, and it's almost cringeworthy. He did a Simon Says thing during one of the timeouts at the last game to try to get students to stand. They're trying whatever they can, but I don't understand if you come to the game, if you paid money to come to this game, why you wouldn't cheer and stand up and be loud. But like right before tip-off, Joey's telling everyone to stand up, and you survey the crowd, there's maybe 20% of the fans actually standing. I don't know if that plays back into your Leon fatigue thing, or if it's just a generational thing, if it's a more older fan base that doesn't want to stand up or can't stand up, or I don't know. But before we hear from Alvaro and Leon about the need for a big crowd tonight in these last three games, what's just your general take on the atmosphere at ExtraMile Arena and the crowds?
Oh boy, I could write 17 columns for Bronco Nation News on this one, BJ. I covered my first Boise State game in 1993, and it's been everything that you just said is so spot on and so accurate. But it goes back to 1993. It really has nothing to do with now, this season, this generation. It's just kind of the culture of Boise State basketball and the culture of the Boise State fan base. It is much, much older. And the student section has been up and down, they've had different names. I remember when they used to call them the Zerkies, and they were wild and crazy for like 10 games, and then they just kind of disappeared. It's always been very inconsistent. It's kind of the nature of the commuter school. What the average age of a Boise State student is, 28, 29. The average Boise State student's like a 28-year-old housewife with two kids or whatever it is. And I know that's changing. And I know that there's more students on campus. And I know that there's more traditional students, freshmen, incoming freshmen. And the lows at Boise State basketball are a hell of a lot better now than the lows before. That's the one area where I've seen improvement. You're right about this year. They're announcing average 10,500 per game. They're getting 6,000 to 8,000 in there. But the rock bottom before was 2 to 3 to 4. You've been in there before when it's been rock bottom late in the season for conference games. So I think the bar has been raised. The standard has been raised. It's taken forever to do it, but this program is never going to click. And I know when you go on the road to New Mexico, when you go on the road to Logan, and you see those fan bases, they've been doing that consistently for 30-plus years, the 30-plus years that I've been covering basketball in this conference with Boise State. So it's just weird. I mean, an older fan base, the lifetime tickets, the students, the non-traditional students, it all adds up. And it's been consistent that way for 30 years. So I'm not blaming Leon for that. That's an issue that he inherited. And I think he's fixed it. He's helped it. He's raised it. We just, guys like you and me and the hardcores want more. We want more. And fans aren't going to stand up. Fans aren't going to be crazy. Fans aren't going to act like this is Cameron Indoor or Logan or Albuquerque. It's just different. And you have to embrace that. And I know you're going to play some sound bites here. It is uncomfortable to watch the inside, Joey, the PA announcer, not the PA announcer, but the in-game entertainment announcer, to beg. But it's also just as comfortable to hear Leon and Alvaro Cardenas in the sound bites you're going to play still at this point in the season, begging for fans to show up. That's not good. That's not what you want with your basketball program, and that's on full display right now.
Yes, and that's what I took away from it, because when I posted the clips to Twitter yesterday, you had New Mexico fans, San Diego State fans, Utah State fans, all basically shocked that Leon Rice was having to ask fans to come to these games and say, how are you guys not feeling like, and it's funny because whenever anybody brings up the fire Leon Rice thing, all the other fan bases right back and say, you're kidding, right? Like, do you guys realize what you have there? Like, what are you guys talking about? And so it's funny that the other fan bases seem to understand what this program, the potential of it has, and some people in their own fan base don't. And the students are the one I just don't understand. You have the largest dorm on campus, I believe, Mike Prater, less than 100 yards from the stadium or the arena. Why you don't just at 6? I mean, why it's just not part of your evening routine on a Wednesday if you're a student is just walk down to the game for 2 hours. I just don't understand that. It's a culture thing. I don't know how you change it, but like I said, it's gotten worse. I mean, there were a couple years ago where they had students that did come to the games and at least in a little better way than they are now. BSU Bill says students have the least amount of excuses for these late night tips too. Students have been pathetic, always have been for basketball anyway. Students get seated, worse compared to other places. I don't know about that.
I think the seating is great. I think it makes sense. I don't want to put them. Well, I'd like to put them in some of those lifetime seats, but you certainly don't want to put them on the court side behind the benches. I think where the students are is fantastic.
Logan said, I said it last week, it's a retirement center in there. BSU Bill said, bottom deck looks like a retirement home. They need to find a way to get more young fans closer to the court. He said, me and my buddies are in the middle mezzanine, bunch of 25 to 30-year-olds. And maybe that's a bigger off-season discussion. BSU Bill says, give the students a cheap beer deal, guarantee you the section fills up and is rowdy. They've got to figure out something, and that's more of a off, like we said, after the season type of thing. But tonight, 8:00, you mentioned the weather. I mean, there's always some sort of convenient excuse. The weather, late night start, it always seems like something pops up. But I agree with you that the soundbite I'm going to play right now is kind of tough to hear for them talk about this, because there was, at least we're not at the point where Leon Rice had to, rappel down from the rafters of the arena or walk across the river or whatever the things he had to do. We're at least past that point of it. But this team is, and the thing I always get is they say, oh, you got to win games before they're going to show up. Like, they win under Leon Rice. They've won 82% of their home games. They win 82% of their home games under Leon Rice in the last 15 years. Over 8 out of 10 times when you come to ExtraMile Arena, you are going to see a win. And in the other 2 out of 10 times where they lose, most of those, for the most part, are pretty competitive. They don't just get run out of the gym at home very often. You're going to see a good, competitive, fun Mountain West basketball game like 94% of the time when you come to the arena. So I don't get they haven't won in March or all this kind of stuff. I don't really think that. They've been to the tournament 3 years in a row. They're winning 20-plus games. They win when they come to home. Like, when you come to a home game, you're going to see a win or you're going to see a good game almost every time. So I don't buy they're not coming because they're not seeing enough wins and all this kind of stuff. I don't personally feel like that applies in this situation. But let's hear from Alvaro Cardenas and Leon Rice talking about the need. And in fairness, they were begging, asking whatever, because I asked the question. They didn't go, it was a question that was asked. How badly do you need a big crowd? And then they, had the responses. But here's Alvaro and Leon on the attendance and the final 3 games, starting with tonight's game.
We're desperate for it. We need, Extra Mile to be packed for our fans to come, our students to pack out the student section. It really, really makes a difference. And we probably haven't had people have been coming to games, and we've had a couple big games, but like we've talked about, BJ, it hasn't been the really packed out ExtraMile Arena that I've experienced other times playing here. So we really need the support from fans to keep believing and help us win those 6 big games that we got left.
Huge, because you look at the opponents we have. You go to those places and holy cow, like you said, you've gone and you've seen it firsthand how it's some of the best places to play in the country are in this league, and we need that here. We need that. And when you look at it, you got, these are Tyson Degenard, who's been an icon of this program. These are his last 3 games. We need to appreciate him. We get Al and Omar who have not been here as long as those guys, but they're, couldn't be better ambassadors to the program, couldn't be better teammates, couldn't be better people. And, they've done some great things basketball-wise here. And so I think it's, a tribute to them to come out, but it also helps this team and this program. You want us to win? Well, availability is the best ability. We need you there. And when we get good crowds here, it really, really helps us.
And that San Diego State game earlier this year, Mike Prater, was dead. The music was low. There wasn't much energy. The crowd wasn't great. And we were pretty vocal. I was on social media. Others were. And then give Boise State credit. They literally went out and bought some subwoofers and upgraded the speaker system literally for the next game 3 days later. The music was much louder that game. They did the stuff with Joey trying to get him going. They changed a new intro video. Like Boise State, to their credit, after the San Diego State game, made some changes that were positive. But my thing was like, why did it take me or others having to say something for all that to happen? It should have happened at the beginning of the season to begin with. But they're doing it. They're trying. But I have no doubt if there was a much louder, more energetic atmosphere at ExtraMile Arena, they would have beaten San Diego State at home. That game was right there for the taking with 5-6 minutes left, and they just kind of walked through it. There was no energy, nothing in the crowd. That was a winnable game at home that I think the crowd could have impacted. And people call it an excuse, whatever, but like, yeah, I've been to all 4 of the biggest arenas this year. I've been there this year, the Pit, San Diego State, whatever. Like, it is a big deal. Like, they say, oh, Leon's complaining about fouls or whatever. Like when you're at the Pit and it's loud and it's crazy and they're using their pressure defense, like they're not getting called for the fight. That's just what happens. The crowd, like it. I'm a Kansas alum. It's 8-on-5 in Allen Fieldhouse. I totally get it. I understand it. People want to complain, but like, we've earned that. When you go there, it's going to be tough and you're not going to get all the calls. Like, so I don't have a problem when New Mexico gets calls at home or San Diego State gets calls at home. Like, that's just known in college basketball. The crowd, the atmosphere, these officials are human, and that plays a factor. And when you have a loud, 90% of the fans watching, commenting have never been to the Pit or never been to Viejas Arena or ever. Like, when you go experience a game in Logan at the Spectrum, like, it is just different. And it 100%, because everyone says, oh, why does Utah State keep winning and they can change coaches and win every year? They never lose at home because they have a building that guarantees them 15 wins a year at home because of their crowd. And so if it's excuses for Leon, if it's whatever, like, oh, you got to win, chicken or the egg, I understand that. But when you already have 82% winning percentage, and if you had a unbelievable home court advantage, and as you know, Mike, with the way that building's built and how on top of the court those seats in the upper levels are, when that place is rocking and full, it's as loud as any arena I've ever been in. And that 82% home court winning percentage could be 92%. And you hear Cardenas, who played at San Jose State, saying he hasn't experienced the arena yet like he did when he came here as a visitor with San Jose State. I mean, if that's not an indictment by itself, I don't know what is. But we'll see tonight what it ends up looking like.
3 things that come to mind, and very well said, but 3 things come to mind, and maybe some of them you can't fix, even with Jeremiah Dickey optimism. One is the culture. And Boise State basketball culture is never going to change, in my opinion. Logan, what you described in Logan, and having gone to school in Utah, and by the way, good win for the Utes over Kansas the other day. I was going to send you a text, and I forgot. I was very happy about that one.
We need to make that 30 last night too. So
we need to make that road trip as one of these days. But just the culture, and I've been going to. I mean, Utah State's had that since the '80s. When I first went to my first Utah State basketball game in the 1980s, and that's the culture then, and that's the consistent culture with that program. Same with Albuquerque. I can't really speak for San Diego State. They've got it going on right now. There's 3 things. It's the culture, and Boise State will never win the culture fight. Number 2. It's about winning and it being NCAA relevant is what you need from your team. Those are 2 things that go hand in hand. They always win. You point out 82% winning percentage at home, but 60% of those are against crappy opponents. And it's about being NCAA relevant and winning. That's number 2. And number 3, it's about playing an exciting brand of basketball. And this is where I'm going to jump on the ship just a little bit. It's exciting to win. And Boise State basketball's program is a hell of a lot more entertaining and relevant and exciting now than it's ever been. And Leon has raised the bar, consistently raised the bar. But come on, man, let's be real. This team isn't that exciting to watch. There's not a flashy, dynamic player. They work hard. And when Leon Rice says, you need to come out and support Tyson, you need to come out and watch Alvaro play. You need to, the fans are making decisions based on that. They want the culture. They want NCAA relevant winning program, and they want exciting. Who's the flashiest player on this team? There really isn't. It's a team effort, and that's good. And Tyson Degenhart is spectacular, and I'm going to cry the day he leaves because of the way he works and the way he grinds and the way he plays and what he represents for college student athletes and college basketball. I think he should be put in the Hall of Fame for the things that he's done for this program and the way he's played selfishly and the way he's gone out and just sacrificed his body for this basketball team. But it's not exciting. It's not exciting to watch him grind in the paint for 2 points and a layup. They want a dynamic three-pointer. Even Max Rice was exciting compared to what we have right now. That gave me some drama. That gave me some entertainment. That gave me some Hollywood sizzle. And that's what I really need from this basketball team, whether it's one dynamic player or a run and gun type of a basketball team. That's what really gets people in the crowd. So culture, winning style, NCAA relevant, and just exciting basketball. And I think right now they're kind of 0 for 3 on all those, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. But again, the floor is much higher than it used to be, and Leon Rice should get credit for that.
BSU Bill says, spot on, Prater. We play a boring brand of basketball. No dunks, steals, fast breaks, alley-oops, blocks, etc. We play 1970s basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pile on, but that's really what it is. And that's okay. I mean, Leon Rice is building basketball teams based on toughness and rebounding and three-point shooting, and the three-point shooting isn't working right now. And it's just not there. There isn't a headline Hollywood buzz guy that's going to bring you to this basketball arena at 8:00 on a Wednesday night in February when it's snowing outside. I wish we could say Tyson Degenhart was that guy, and we're all going to miss him the day that he leaves. But guys, he's not the guy that's selling tickets either. And just based on the brand and the style, that's a tough sell for a lot of people in this town.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll see. When I went on yesterday and looked, there were very, very, very limited tickets for tonight's game. I would bet if I counted, there was maybe 200 tickets yesterday that were left for this game, and they were spread out throughout the arena. So, we'll see who actually shows up tonight. They're offering a $10 ticket plan, which I saw some fans of some of the other teams kind of going, what? Like, that's crazy. Against these teams, they should be all over that. But you can pick $10 tickets for any of the 3 remaining home games. You get 2 of the 3. So $20, you get a ticket to go see 2, and tonight's game and next Wednesday, Mike, like you're seeing teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament. Like you think Boise State has a boring brand of basketball? Come watch New Mexico then. Like come watch Utah State. Like you're going to see teams that are playing in March Madness on the other side. It shouldn't come to that, but if you don't like what we're seeing from Boise State, but you're a basketball fan, come watch Donovan Dent, the player of the year tonight. There's the next 3 games all are intriguing for a lot of reasons, and especially that senior night game with Tyson and the record and I will say this. He said 3 final home games. I don't know if that's going to be the case, Mike Prater.
Well, I can see an NIT home game coming in down the pike.
There's new rules for the NIT this year, and I believe Boise State will almost be assured of getting an NIT bid. I know that you could just say they're going to get one because of where they sit, but there's some rules about conferences getting automatic spots and things based on where you are in the KenPom rankings and all that. And they revamped the NIT this year because that other tournament got started in Vegas with Fox, I think, and they don't want the NIT to become irrelevant. And so I'm going to dive into that here moving forward, but I think there's a very strong chance. And if Tyson Degenhart has a chance to break the scoring record at home in an NIT game, some people might say that's sad, whatever, but at least the home game to break the scoring record, I still think there'd be some intrigue for something like that.
Yeah, there would be. There would be. They're not going to sell the place out. And that's another problem that we really haven't talked about. I'm going back to the season opener. They announced the sellout because they got sellout fever at Boise State, and that's a good thing. And coming off the football season where they had a legitimate 6 for 6 sellouts, or 7 for 7 if you include the Mountain West Championship game, it's very impressive. But you know what? That night, you show up for a quote-unquote sold-out basketball game and there's over 2,000, maybe 3,000 empty seats. That sends a wrong message to the hardcore fan, BJ, is showing up to watch Dent tonight. The hardcore fan is showing up to watch Utah State play or New Mexico. That's the 6,000 that are in the building. That's the hardcores. They're going to show up no matter what. Even if they're old and they're just loyal to Boise State, or if they're young and just enthused about basketball, those are the 6,000 hardcores that are showing up. Selling $10 tickets and storylines to the rest of them, it's not working right now because there is nothing to bring them in. And when you send a message that we have sold out crowds, or we average 11,000 or 10,500, but there's always 5,000 empty seats in that building, they need to market that more. That's more of a stronger message. We have 5,000 seats that need to be sold, as opposed to we sold out the basketball game, but there's going to be 5,000 empty seats. It's confusing for fans, especially when there's not the carrot at the end of the day. And, I know we haven't brought up the Leon Rice fatigue, but I also think that there's some of that too. I shouldn't say nobody's suggesting Leon Rice should be fired. Nobody on this show is suggesting that Leon Rice should be fired. I think that's a bad word. The F word is a bad word when it comes to Leon Rice, but there is some fatigue for Leon Rice, and those people aren't showing up unless they really, really have to.
And you said in your tweet, new Boise State sports phrase, I'm starting to hear and read, Leon Rice fatigue. How real is it? Curious minds want to know. But you had 27 responses, and I think the majority of it was not Leon Rice fatigue based on the comments. And I don't know if that's there still obviously is some, but I would say it was less. It was a pretty smaller margin. I don't know what you thought the margin would be when you put that out there in terms of the responses, but is someone not coming to the game tonight because they're not going to support him until Leon Rice is fired? I don't know. I just that whole thing is interesting to me. People say, oh, it's because I'm, whatever. It is what it is. Anytime I try to defend Leon Rice, it just comes back that I'm a homer or whatever. And you're not, because you get a Christmas card from him every year. I mean, whatever. But it's, I understand the conversation. I don't think we're there yet, Mike Prater. I think if you have another year next year where you miss the tournament or have another year like this, then I think you could have a serious conversation and I'd be willing to have it. But 3 years of making the tournament, 1 year, whatever. But I mean, you know what? 15 years, same coach, same message. I understand it. I think some people are a little delusional about who they could hire that would come in here and actually take it further than it is right now. Maybe that's possible. Jeremiah Dickey, I'm sure, would hire a great coach. I don't know. I just do think when you look at still where Boise State ranks in terms of the resources and San Diego State still has double the basketball budget as Boise State. I mean, it's still not close for some of these teams. So I just don't think it's as easy as, and I don't think it's a guarantee that if you replace Leon Rice, you would get a better coach or the program would go higher. Could it? Sure. But I think right now, in my opinion, I think it's foolish to go down that path for at least another year.
Yeah, the firing part, absolutely. Again, I don't want to use the word firing. That's ridiculous. And there are people out there that think he should be fired. And there are people out there who get emotional, kind of like, well, no, I mean, there's just people out there. And what the percentage is, I don't know. It's 10, 15, 20% of a 50,000 Boise State fan base, whatever. It's a small number. But there's a whole bunch of gray area people sitting around on their hands right now waiting for this basketball program to do something exciting. The Leon Rice fatigue is real. I promise you, it is real. Does everybody believe it? No. But the Leon Rice fatigue is real. And I watched this with Rod Jensen, and I watched this with Greg Graham. And toward the end of Bobby Dye, I watched that as well. So this town has a really weird relationship with this basketball program that has nothing to do with Leon Rice, has nothing to do with BJ Raines, has nothing to do with right now. Again, this is a generational thing that's been going on for 30, 40 years. Maybe since the late 1980s, when they had exciting NCAA-relevant basketball teams and consistent crowds of 11,000 people in there. So it's not like that anymore. But the Leon Rice thing is fatigue is real. And, does that mean that that Jeremiah Dickey has to make decisions in the offseason? No. Leon Rice should go nowhere at all. You can have fatigue, and you can still think that there's hope for your basketball team and that Leon Rice is the right guy. And I firmly believe that. But once the fatigue starts, do you let it linger for 1 year? Do you let it linger for 2 years? Do you let it linger for 3 years? The fatigue is real. How they're going to fix it and what they're going to do 2 or 3 years down the road, that's the big question for the guys in charge.
So let's spin this back towards this game tonight in these final 6 games in our final 5 minutes or so here, Mike. Obviously, we mentioned Boise State favored by 4.5 tonight. They're 2-point favorites at Ken Pom. Saturday, they're a 1-point underdog at Ken Pom at Nevada, but Boise State is projected to win by at least 3 points against the final 4 games on their schedule. Utah State, Fresno State, Air Force, Colorado State. The final 3, they've got all 6+ point wins, pretty comfortable wins. Utah State, they're favored by 3. I know it sounds crazy, whatever, but Joe Lunardi still lists Boise State on his teams of the next group that are out. The bubble is absolutely terrible this year. There are not enough good teams. There's this whole talk about how they shouldn't expand the tournament, and this is a perfect year why. It's an easy year to mention that because there's just not a lot of good teams. So as bad as Boise State has been, I say look around. A lot of other teams around the country have been just as bad. So as crazy as it sounds, Boise State, at least in Joe Lunardi's eyes, is still worth looking at for the NCAA tournament here. If they were to, I mean, how do you look at these last 6 games? Tonight's game, I mean, if they can run the table and go 6-0 here, I mean, is there still reason for hope that do you think this team could go dancing, or how do you, I guess this final 6 games, big picture, how are you looking at it ahead of the conference tournament here? Are they just playing for seeding here? Are they still playing for possibly a bid to host an NIT game? What's kind of your big picture thoughts?
They're playing to finish strong. And if that finish strong means, getting yourself deep into the Mountain West tournament, that's great. I mean, they're competitive, and they're playing one game at a time to try to win it. I think they're a bunch of, it's a seasoned group. It's a smart group. It's a playing hard group. It's a responsible group, and they're going to try to finish this season strong. I love you, BJ. I really do, man. But this NCAA talk, especially the at-large talk, is ridiculous. You know what an NCAA tournament basketball team looks like. And Boise State is not an NCAA tournament basketball team. They do not have an NCAA tournament resume. Can they win a couple of games and get themselves into a quarterfinal and dominate that? Can they get themselves into a semifinal and win a nice, tight, competitive, fun game and play in the championship game of the Mountain West tournament? Hell yes, they can absolutely do that. No, that wouldn't surprise anybody if Boise State went on a run. And at that point, maybe we can talk a little bit of NCAA, but it's just about getting your mind right and playing good basketball. Stop begging fans to come watch your game. And I know they're focused on the game. I'm not criticizing Alvaro Cardenas. It was just a bad, weird message yesterday that at this point in the season with this team, they're begging for fans to show up. They're focused, and they're going to continue to be focused. And get your mind right going into tonight. Get your mind right going into the weekend. Finish strong, have some confidence, and see if you can go on a roll and work your way into the NCAA tournament. You're not going to get a free invite to the NCAA tournament this year. This is not that team, and it won't be that team. But you can scratch and claw and see what you can do. And if the consolation prize is a home game in the NIT against somebody from the West, because that's what it'll be, with Tyson Degenhart trying to go after the school record, I probably sign me up for that in a million years, even though I can't stand the NIT.
All I'm saying, Mike, is right now, not even close. But and are they going to win the next 6 games? Probably not. Chances are they're not going to go 6-0. I'm just saying, if they were to go 6-0, I'm just reading Joe Lunardi. I'm reading all these bracketologists. If they somehow win the last 6 games, they will be a lot closer than I think you think they will be to getting in the NCAA tournament. Will they win the 6 games? No. But if they do, I'm just saying there is still something to play for. At least they would be more in the conversation than they are right now.
Absolutely.
They're not going to win. I don't think they're going to win the 6 games. I'm not saying they're an NCAA tournament team. They're not. They're a borderline NIT team right now. I'm just saying the path is with 3 of the teams they have left, and the path they have, and the fact that there's so many other. I was shocked. I woke up after the San Diego State game, and Joe Lunardi still lists them on his sheet. So I'm not the one saying that. I'm reading the guys that get paid to do this. So if they were to win the 6 games left, they would be in the conversation, whether we think they should be or not, just because of how bad the league is this year. But with that said, no, I don't expect them to win the 6 games. I'm not advocating saying this is a crime if they're not in the NCAA tournament. No, they're obviously not. They've underachieved. They've disappointed this year. I'm just saying it's been a weird year, and win your last 6 games and see what happens. That probably wouldn't be enough, but it would at least make it exciting going into the conference tournament that they had to win a game or 2. And last year we thought they were for sure in, and they had to go to Dayton. Who knows? All I'm saying is, I guess there's no, it's yes, you're playing to try to get a top 3 seed in the conference tournament. Give yourself a path to do that. But if you're a player or you're a fan trying to have a reason to come tonight, trying to have hope for down the stretch, the professionals at least say it's not crazy if they were to somehow go 6-0.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. 6-0 would make them 23-8 and with a decent resume, no big road wins, no big monster signature wins other than maybe Clemson and St. Mary's. I know those are nice wins. So, they got those in their back pocket. But yeah, to me, it's just about, it's not, and we're kind of saying the same thing in different ways. It's not about, pleasing Joe Lunardi and being on his bubble. It's just about being right inside the head. And if they can win 5 of 6, let's say if they win 5 of 6 and play well in that quarterfinal game in the Mountain West tournament, I think we're okay. I think Boise State's okay. That would mean that they're 22-7 or 22-9. Win a quarterfinal game in the Mountain West tournament by 15 points over who knows, San Jose State or whatever it is, and get into that semifinals. You're one of 4 teams left in the conference tournament. You're playing in Vegas on a Friday night. There is still plenty to play for with this basketball team, no doubt about it. And I think they're going to give every ounce they can to get after it. That's what this team does.
Yeah. AP says, hey, if Leon's demanding a packed house like other schools, then is it fair to ask for a team that wins like those guys too? AP, just so you know, New Mexico has made one NCAA tournament in the last 10 years, and they haven't won a tournament game going back to the Alford era even before that. So, I mean, Boise State actually has done more than New Mexico does.
You know what this entire conference needs? They need an injection of 2 or 3 NBA players. That's the kind of excitement it creates. And I know Dent's a good player, but I don't think he's got an NBA future, or maybe he does. I don't know. The NBA draft history over the last couple of years has been pretty shallow. This league needs a desperation injection of NBA type talent. That's what gets people excited. Yeah, no doubt about it. So your gut feel is take New Mexico tonight, but 4.5, a lot of points. Very, very, very curious there. We'll see you at the arena tonight, Mike. We'll be listening 3 to 6. You guys will have a 3-hour pregame show getting set for the game tonight. Idaho Sports Talk, Prater, Bob, the whole crew there, Johnny. So 3 to 6, Idaho Sports Talk, KTIK 95.3 FM, 1350 AM. And then we'll have our live pregame show for the game tonight, 7 o'clock. Over on the Bronco Nation News YouTube channel. Mike, we're going to switch and talk some football with Brad Bedell here, but we appreciate you for jumping on, and we'll be listening today. Appreciate you, BJ. Can't wait to see the game tonight. Go BSU. I really need to see BSU win a basketball game tonight. Let's inject some life into this season and see how they can finish. Looking forward to it, my friend. There he is, Mike Prater. Appreciate him for jumping on. Thanks, Mike. Thank you. Yep, there he is, Mike Prater. And again, Brad Bedell going to join us momentarily. We'll switch to some football talk here. If you got a football thought or question for Brad Bedell, you can get that in here. But first, we want to thank a couple of our sponsors, including our title sponsor, roepaint.com, roepaint.com. All your painting needs, whether it's those concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting. They can do commercial, industrial work as well. All your painting needs. Hit up our title sponsor today. We've used them several times. Can't say enough about their service. roepaint.com. Taco Bell, they are hiring. If you're looking for a job at Treasure Valley Taco Bell, would love to hire you. TacoBellWorks.com. You get more information, or you can just go into one of the local Treasure Valley Taco Bell locations. They are hiring, and again, they have the paperwork to sign up right there when you walk into the store. So while you're there, pick up a cheesy gordita crunch or a Lux Cravings box, Cantina Bowl, all the great options at Taco Bell. SON Management, the Nicolason family, and the Treasure Valley Taco Bell. Hey, Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest is that mobile e-branch online banking right there in your smartphone. The Raines family made the switch when we brought them on board as a sponsor. So happy we did. You may think you like your banking experience. Oh, there's no reason to change, but you don't realize what you're missing with ICCU. Get more information. Make the switch today at ICCU.com. Hey, if the Broncos get 70 points tonight, you get a hot dog, a soda, and a banana for $2 at Jackson's 2 days after the game. That would be Friday. So root for 70 points tonight, which is probably what it would take to win this one tonight. $2 for a hot dog, fountain drink, and a banana when you use the Let's Go Rewards app. And don't forget, 99-cent coffee anytime, any day with the Let's Go Rewards app at Jackson's. Hey, Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game. They're part of the Boise State home team. They've been around since 1978. Locations in Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. The spateam.com is their website to go see all their options for their saunas, their pool tables, their spas, all that great stuff. Again, view their inventory and their options online. Snake River Pool and Spa, Patio and Game at the spateam.com. And the Blue and Orange Store, the blueandorangestore.com, all your Boise State jerseys, caps, bumper stickers, car flags, you name it. And there's a lot of spots around town to get Boise State gear, but the Blue and Orange Store, the blueandorangestore.com is the place to go. You can order from anywhere in the world online at the blueandorangestore.com, or just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there, the second floor next to Pro Image. They have that great clearance rack out there in the front. Highly recommend our friends at the Blue and Orange Store. And our other major sponsor we want to mention is Lithia Ford of Boise. Their NIL game is stepping up. They've added 3 female athletes at Boise State. They've added some new football players as well with Latrell Caples, Cage Casey, and Roger Carrion. Snow is falling. You need that 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive vehicle from Lithia Ford of Boise right about now. The Raines family lucky to have ours, thankful to have ours. And the purchase with our salesperson, Kim, was just so easy, and we loved every bit of it. You can view their full inventory online at lithiafordboise.com. Go in there, do your research, and then test drive a couple vehicles, and you are on your way at Lithia Ford of Boise. All right, I mentioned we're going to switch and talk some football with our man, Brad Bedell. Nice enough to change his schedule around to join us here on a
9:45, 9:50 now, as I'm a couple minutes late, bringing on Brad on a Wednesday edition here. He's got another full-time job, but nice enough to switch things around for us. So we'll welcome on the great Brad Bedell here. And Brad, appreciate you as always for jumping on. And kind of feels like football weather right now with the snow out there today, and spring ball, believe it or not, only about 2 weeks away.
Yeah, it's cold. Hell. No, it's good. We got a little snow, a little rain, but it's amazing that this never stops. It's hard to believe that the Orange Bowl, it feels like it was yesterday, and now they're rolling into spring ball, and which opens up another animal of the portal, and then you kind of set your roster and go make another playoff run.
Well, what is 2 weeks away from spring ball? And I want to get your thoughts on there was some reports yesterday about the playoff format and some things like that. But in terms of being, about 2 weeks from the start of spring ball here, what is happening inside that building with players, with coaches? I know some of the coaches, I think, got a couple days off at least after signing day and got to take a little bit of a break. But when you're kind of approaching the final 2 weeks here before spring ball, what's going on with coaches, players? Take us inside that facility as they get set for that first spring practice on, I believe, March 10th.
So, yeah, they got vacation, got back Monday, I would assume. And then go to workouts, watch the guys' workouts, see the development while they've kind of been gone. When I say that, recruiting, they're in the dead period, starts like a week or something. And then, they go on vacation, come back, get with the players. Now you're starting to do a lot more football. You're getting ready for spring ball. You're starting to talk some installation, where the team's going philosophy-wise, if there's going to be changes. Some new schemes that are going to be coming in. And then the following week, you'll start install 1 for spring ball, get a 2 spring ball install in, go to 3. So then when spring ball starts, you go back to 1, 2, 3. So the players really can hear it twice, especially for the new transfers, if they have any mid-year freshmen, which I'm not sure if they do. And then it's nice. Spring ball is so great because you got to practice, you got a day off, right? So you can kind of have a decent installation plan. You don't have to overwhelm them. And when I mean that, like fall camp between spring camp, you don't have breaks, right? So it's installation, break, kind of a recap practice, installation, where spring ball is you can install a good chunk. You got a day off, to re-go over it, reinstall it during meetings, and then the following day installation. And so it's kind of it's more of a spoon-fed type of installation rather than fall camp is fast forward installation. Can't hear you. Is that me or you?
Muted myself. I just had the greatest
son of a
on the show, Brad, too. So I said it's crazy to think, and I usually get on Jay Tuss and others for muting themselves. So now I've done it myself. So I'll put $1 in the kitty. But they're doing 3 practices, taking a spring break off, then coming back for 4 weeks, and they're kind of doing the 3 practices a week. In the past, they've kind of the typical Boise State thing has been do 2 weeks, have spring break, do 2 weeks. So it's been a 4 weeks of actual practice, maybe, condensing it a little bit more. Now with the spring break weekend they're going 6 weeks. And like I said, they'll have 5 actual weeks of practice, just 3 practices a week, spreading it out a little bit, having another extra week with the guys, and maybe that extra 4th, instead of having that extra 4th practice, on a Saturday, just push that back to the later week. So you get a full extra week of spring. What do you make of, stretching this thing out 6 weeks, counting spring breaks? So I guess 5 without spring break, 5 weeks of actual spring practice here.
A long time. I mean, God, can't wait till it's going to be over. It's they feel it's important because I would assume they play later in the year, right? So now they can spread it out and give more days off for rehab and recovery purposes. So you're not adding an extra toll on bodies. I know nothing about the postseason injuries. Know nothing. So if you stretch it out, I'm not assuming this, so fans don't think I know something that I don't. is possibly if somebody had to have a little tune-up surgery, a little clearing out, and they think they can get them back the last couple of weeks, full tilt, you do it. It's better to practice and get 6 practices in rather than a 0 spring ball, correct? So that could be it. I just don't know. But it's also I like breaks in between practices as a coach because you don't feel like you're in a season grind. Not to mention now the players can get back on campus. So now you have spring ball, you have your full-fledged in recruiting, your full-fledged portal. And so I think you can kind of space and time management and give the proper attention that's needed. When it's football, it's football. When it's recruiting, it's recruiting. And let's not forget you got your academic meetings and you got all that too to make sure everybody's in shape and things like that. So I like it, but 5 weeks is a long time.
Brent's asking if the media gets access to spring practice. Yes, that is the plan. We haven't heard the exact plan, but I believe if it's similar to what it usually is, the media probably will get to watch, every second of spring practice. There may be some stuff we can't report in terms of, formations and plays and things like that. But I would fully expect Spencer is going to continue to do what he's done. I see no reason why he would just go back and start cutting back with what he's been saying. So I would, suspect plenty of spring practice for the media. And maybe this is a question for next week, Brad, but this team, whether it's, having to replace some guys at receiver, obviously Ashton Genty is going to be the big storyline, replacing him. But I mean, if you get out there for that first spring practice on March 10th, I guess you're for sure going down to the O-line, and we know that's an obvious one, but where would you be kind of going to spend some of your time, or some positions or players or areas that you think are going to be important this spring?
It's a good question. I'm not O-line just because I'll gravitate towards them. I want to know, number one, I'll go to the D-line so I can figure that out and pass rush. I want to know who the next pass rusher is. I want to know where they're going to create those sacks and be able to play some coverage. Because, at times there were heavy pressure. And when you get heavy pressure at times, you lose some holes in the secondary. Then I want to go to the secondary. I want to see, how individuals going. Are they going to play how are they going to play the 50-50 ball? Because that's going to be one of the battles in spring ball right there is we want the wideouts to win more 50-50s on the deep past 30 yards, right? I mean, the fans want that. And last week it was even stated, right? We need to do better at longer throws. So I want to know who's winning those battles. I want to see the separation at the wide receivers. And I want to know who's going to – it's hard to say because everybody's competing, right? But who's going to be the backup quarterback? Who's going to be able to take this team? Who's going to develop that role, the knowledge of this offense to have that battle to push, Mad Dog to get better? And I think he'll get better on his own. I think that's going to be – I think that's stated because I think that's in his human nature. He knows he has things to improve on. But I want push. I want competition. I want to make sure I want the same mindset that he had last spring ball when he thought the 5-star kid was breathing down his back and everybody wanted that kid to start. I want that kid day in and day out. And if he's not, then, they got to go find a portal that's going to create the competition. But I just knowing everything about the young man, sitting down, talking to the young man, I'm not worried about that, but I'd like to see who the backup quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, and we're going to start a 10-part series, I guess. We'll weave in with the basketball talk the 2 weeks leading up to spring ball. So starting next Monday, kind of the 10 storylines, 10 biggest storylines for BNN going into spring practice. And we'll touch on a different topic, for 10, 15 minutes each day. And then maybe when you come on, kind of get your thoughts on some of the previous ones in the week as well. But yeah, I think backup quarterback certainly on there. Replacing Genty, certainly on there. You mentioned the D-line, the pass rush, the secondary. You could do every position. You could walk around the field and say, okay, what's the storyline in this group? I mean, there's going to be one pretty much everywhere. How do you replace Jonah Dalmas at kicker? What's going on there? I mean, that's going to be certainly. I know no one cares about special teams, but trying to find a kicker is certainly going to be on the list of things that you have to do at some point here. I think. The offensive coordinator and the new offensive staff and no Dirk Cutter. And I think that's a storyline as well. What's this offense going to look like? And what kind of stamp is, Zach Hill going to put on the quarterback position and improvements there? And then what's this offense look like with Nate Potter running the show this spring? I think that's going to be a big area to watch.
Yeah, I think you're going to see I think you'll see it, but I also agree with what you said earlier. It's not like you can throw out the formations that they're throwing in. The fans are going to have to see that on TV, and when they get to the game or get to a scrimmage situation where they're allowed to come. If I am one thing, I'll say this: if I am Spencer, if let's reverse coaches, and I was the head football coach, and I was in Spencer's shoes, I would address you guys like, do not say anything about plays or formations, because right now you have an entire schedule. Like, what is Boise going to do? They made some changes. The offensive coordinators knew. Are they going to come out with some tweaks? Are they going to come out with some formations and motions and trip plays, things like that are going to be vital to the start of the season? So now you can't have teams going back, because the greatest thing about this is you can only study Boise State, right? Well, Nate Potter's got a big background and some really good offenses, and I know Potter's got a lot of NFL connections. So I'm very intrigued to see the studies that he's done and things like that. So that's a huge benefit, in my opinion, for your first 3 games, because you can start throwing things out that people haven't seen out of Boise in years. And so, I think that's a huge benefit of Boise in that storyline of you'll know and you'll know how to do it. But I'd like, guys, don't say anything, because this is an advantage. This is a competitive advantage that we have going into the first 3 games.
So would the spring game be pretty watered down then with plays and things?
It always is. It always is. I mean, how many times have you seen inside zone in a spring game?
Every other play?
Exactly. You can't. Right, you can't come in and have all your stuff in the spring game. And the spring game is great for fans. It's great for them to get out and seek some competition. I think it's great for quarterback play. They're live. I think it's great for quarterback play for, how they run on the offense. Is there a bunch of delay of games? Are they getting in and out of the huddle? Or is the pre-snap stuff clean? That stuff's important. But you're not going to see a bunch of stuff off the fly sweep. You're just not. They're going to line up and play football, and you sit there and pray that nobody gets injured. I mean, it's the most stressful 2 hours as a coach, because you've gotten to this point. Do not get hurt. Please do not get hurt. So it's like, that's why a lot of guys don't play. Yeah, you're not going to see Cage Casey playing a bunch of snaps in spring. You saw Genty have a few.
They played 2-hand touch with Genty, and he got like 3 carries in that game. Yeah, exactly.
You got to protect your stallions, and you're going to have 5 or 6 guys. You're going to go, hey guys, and you tell a player like, hey, you're going to play about 5 snaps. We're going to get you out. I mean, it's just the way it is. It has to be that way.
If you have a question, a thought for Brad Bedell, you can put that in the chat. I do want to get Brad's thoughts on this new playoff format and these automatic bids, but I do want to thank a couple more sponsors real quick. Boucher Real Estate, #1 ranked realtor in the Treasure Valley is Matt Boucher. When you buy or sell a home with Matt, you get to see everybody on the screen there. Abe Jackson told me he's looking at homes with Matt Boucher right now. So everybody's using Matt Boucher, and they're enjoying the experience. Get more information. You can use Matt at BoucherRealEstate.com, and we'll have the Boucher Real Estate Player of the Game tonight after Boise State-New Mexico on the Jacksons post-game show. Hey, Ridley's Family Markets, shopridleys.com. 13 locations across the state of Idaho, surrounding states and areas. Shopridleys.com is the website. You can find a location near you and see some of their great savings. And if you download that Skip app, you get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. Hey, transcomservice.com. If you're looking to get into the trucking industry, Transportation Compliance Service can help you out every step of the way. Transportation Compliance Service, complete trucking management, all the paperwork, DOT overweight, everything you need to get out there towing that first load in no time. If you're looking for a new career change, a new fresh start, consider the trucking industry. Consider transcomservice.com. They're a local company helping folks all over the world get into the trucking business at Transportation Compliance Service. Hey, Lean Feast, leanfeastmeridian.com. Leanfeastmeridian.com is the website. 10,000 plus combinations. All it is, one quick call, 487-5782, one quick visit to their website, leanfeastmeridian.com, and you can get delivered fresh, healthy food anywhere in the Treasure Valley, and it's good in the refrigerator for 5 days, so you just pop it in there for lunch, and you got food all week. 2 minutes is all it takes in the microwave, and you're eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish. Highly recommend Lean Feast. They're feeding the football team, the basketball team, and they can feed you as well, leanfeastmeridian.com. And we want those voicemails on the postgame show tonight. Speakpipe.com/BNN. Speakpipe.com/BNN. We'll play your voicemails on the postgame show. Signature Roofing is the sponsor of the speakpipe.com/BNN, the Signature Roofing voice inbox, and it's brought to you by mysignatureroofing.com. They've been covering our community for more than 2 decades. Whether it's a re-roof, a repair, an estimate, an inspection, you can get more information online at mysignatureroofing.com. All right, Brad, the report from Ross Dellinger, Yahoo Sports yesterday, that they're meeting to talk about the playoff format, and I guess as part of this, basically so that the SEC and Big Ten won't break away and do their own thing. All these other conferences, when they sign this new deal, basically agreed to let the SEC and Big Ten kind of decide the format here moving forward for the playoff. And that means that the SEC and the Big Ten want to guarantee a lot of their teams get into this playoff. And so there's different ways how this might look, but they're talking about 3, maybe even 4 automatic bids each for the SEC and the Big Ten. They're talking about maybe some of those automatic bids come on a conference championship weekend where you have the 3rd, 5th place team playing and the 2nd and 4th place team playing, or however you want to do it to get more excitement championship weekend, where if you win this game, you get propelled into the playoff and not have a situation where if you lose your conference championship, maybe it keeps you out if you're already going to be in. And they're talking about 2 guaranteed bids, maybe for the Big 12 and the ACC, and then 1 big for the Group of 5, going to 14, maybe going to 16. What's your kind of take on this whole thing, where it sits right now, what the playoff could look like here moving forward?
4 teams to the 2 conferences. So we're just going to coddle to them, which is it's on the field. So I'm sorry. Get your teams better to compete within your conference, period. Quit just kneeling to these people saying, okay, do you want 7 teams? Let's just have 7. So let's just have a horrible Rutgers team get in there. That's awesome. Even though they may have gone undefeated in your non-conference and they played Sisters of the Poor. Sorry, out. I would give them 3 and 3. That makes it 6. So I would say this. I would say you take their champions an automatic bid. The other team that lost in the championships an automatic bid, because I think championship games matter. I've said that. I said that all last year. And take your best team that's out of the championship game. Okay, both conferences, right? So that's 6 teams. Okay, I think the Big 12 gets 1, that's 7. The ACC gets another, that's 8. I think you go to 12 teams. I don't think you go to 4. I wouldn't mind seeing, I think there's an argument to have 2 G5 teams get in. I do. I think last year, Boise State, I think you had a good argument for UNLV. I would get rid of bye weeks.
Get rid of what?
Killed.
Oh,
I would
buys?
get rid of the bye.
Yep.
Which
means you probably need to go to 16 then for that to happen. Yeah.
Probably. So if that happens and you bump everybody up 1, so the Big 2 get 4, that's 8. You give 2 to the Big 12, you get 2, and so it goes 2-2, and then see what happens with the G5.
Yeah, Notre Dame would potentially get a spot if they're high enough, and then you'd have maybe 3 at-larges with a 16.
Yeah, okay.
Let
me get this one out. Let's say this. Let's say Notre Dame's undefeated, right? They're in. I think it should take precedence to a mid SEC team. So if Notre Dame's undefeated and the SEC team that sits, let's say it's 4, is sitting with 4 losses, Notre Dame should replace them. Why should Notre Dame take an at-large bid for teams that deserve it? So I think if Notre Dame I wouldn't be in a conference either. But if Notre Dame wants to play in this thing, they should take away from a conference team alignment, either the Big Ten or the SEC. So one of those teams, if they go to 4, one of those teams that are sitting with 3 or 4 losses, but they're at 4, should be replaced by Notre Dame. So it doesn't affect the at-large bids for the other teams that deserve it. What's wrong with that?
what they'll never do. They will never do this. It's not happening. I know it. But what I think they should do is go to at least 20. And I would say do the FCS thing, at least go to 24. And I would give all 10 conference champions a spot in this field. I don't, the Sun Belt, Big Conference USA, whatever. You win your conference. That's the beauty of March Madness in college basketball. You know, if you win your conference tournament, you have a chance to go to the big party. And they'll never do it. But I think that all 10, if there's 10 FBS conferences and you meet the qualities to be a conference and you have enough teams and whatever it is, like, you should get to designate a team in your conference championship that makes the college football playoff. That would be 10 teams right there. And then if you want to do the automatic bids and all that and any leftover at larges, whatever, you know, I know it's never going to happen. I understand it because then you're talking about buys again and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? Like, if you're, you know, I don't know, Tulane or something, and you get in and your first game has to be at Georgia because you're the 16 seed and you're playing the, you know, 4 seed or 20 seed or whatever it is, like that's, you can at least say you got your shot. And right now, the group of 5, I don't feel like really, for the most part, like you said, thinks it'll, you know, it's much of a fair shot for them. And you can say they don't deserve it. That's fine. The big, you know, Big Ten, SEC are going to decide this. They don't care about the little guys. You get your one spot, be quiet and go away. I understand it. I get it. That's how it's always going to be. But I think if you're going to keep expanding, I mean, people want more football. Like, I don't know why that would be such a bad thing to watch a playoff game, to watch, you know, North Texas go up against Ohio State in the first game. Like, would it be a blowout? Yes. But can the North Texas guys say they had a chance? Yes. I just I wish they would do it. They never will. It'll stay. I don't even think they're going to get the 2 group of 5s, Brad. I would like to see that, but I think it's always just going to be 1, unfortunately, in terms of a group of 5 team getting a spot, unless you're high enough in the at-large category to get in. But I don't like the 4 bids. I think it's stupid. If you have 4 teams that are good enough, they should get it. Then if your conference is going to be good enough, then you're going to get in. Like, and I think they've said most years, like 4 SEC, if they go to 16 or whatever, like most years, except for 1, you would have gotten 4 SEC and 4 Big Ten anyway, just given the rankings. So, I mean, I don't think it would change that much. But I hate guaranteeing the 4th place team in a conference a spot in a national championship tournament. I just don't think that's fair.
No. And I'm sorry, I don't know this. How many regular season games does the like Montana State? How many regular season games do they play? Do you know?
Is it 10 maybe?
So it's 10. So that's
I don't
the
know.
difference.
I'll look it up, but I think it might be 10. You could play 4 playoff games.
Right. So if it's 10 and you want to do that route, you got to cut from the regular season in the BCS or the big boy conferences. There's no way. That's a huge revenue builder. Because let's say, so if you're 1 and done, you've lost possibly a home game, or if you're a North Texas, you've lost the $1.2 million to play in the regular season. So in the SEC and the Big Ten are never going to allow that. You can't. It's hard to do that, right? Financially.
Montana
now, for
State
them, it's
12 regular season games and then 4 playoff games.
Okay, then it's 12 games.
Yeah,
there you go. You're fine. You're fine. You just got to keep that. You can't. I don't think people want to see the regular season cut. I don't. That's not going to happen.
I also think they should move this, like week 0 or whatever should just be like just let everybody start a week earlier and add an extra bye in there. Like the way it works out, like I think Kansas, like the Big 12, a lot of the Big 12 teams, some of them, like Kansas is playing that week 0 game or whatever this year. So they have 3 bye weeks. I know that's crazy to have 3 bye weeks. And I don't know how as a coach, how you'd feel about that. But like, I've always said that about the NFL schedule. Like, why not throw more Saturdays with football is a good thing. So if your team gets an extra week off, but there's a lot of other, if that means 1 full Saturday more of full college football, like I don't understand why that's a bad thing. I don't know. I'm sure there's more to it in terms of if you have to start a week earlier in August, you got to get the kids there a week earlier. It's less free time. I understand that, but I don't know why people wouldn't be in favor of starting the season a week earlier.
It's not that much free time because kids are in school. So your summer school is running into fall camp anyway in most places, right? The only thing that really affects school-wise and kids is the quarter system, because in the quarter system, you're 2 weeks into the season before the students get there. So who cares, right? I am a firm believer of week 0 is week 1. Week 0 is a week 1. I agree with you 100%.
We were there
the
watching some of those games. We were down there for the contest weekend. That was the Notre Dame. Was it who they played? Georgia Tech.
The kickoff classics.
Yeah, there was a couple games that week 1, and so there were some games that weekend. But if that were the official first week and you just started a week earlier, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, make it. Yeah, I think everybody starts, and then because now if you go play at Hawaii, you get an extra game. What? Why?
But it's a health and safety thing too. Like why would you not? I mean, maybe as a coach, it's worse because it's another weekend season or it's another week. You have to figure out recruiting. I don't know what, but in terms of giving players an extra off week in the middle of the season and not having to play, 10 games in, or like if you could set it up where you're playing 4 or 5 games, week off, 4 or 5 games, week off, 4 or 5 games, week off. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I mean, I think it longevity, it helps you, right?
Oh, you would have to do that. I mean, I guess I bring that up because if you were going to add playoff games, add teams, add rounds, you probably would have to move the season up.
You got to move the season up. You got to move the season up. There's no way college football can get into February. It can't. And we learned this a little bit in the ratings, right? So when the NFL and the college football competed on same TV kind of thing, the NFL dominated. I think it was pretty wide if I remember correctly.
And the NFL has said they're willing to try to work with the CF. Somebody from the CFP met with Roger Goodell, and I guess they've at least said publicly that they're going to try to work with them. But I mean, there's actually I don't think people know this, like a constitutional law or some law where the NFL is not allowed to play Saturdays until like the first Saturday in December or whatever. It's a weird thing. Right. They like it's actually a law. So that's why as soon as that regular season is over, that's when in December they started switching some games to Saturdays. I mean, the NFL college used to have Thursday to itself too, and that used to be a big night for a big Thursday night college football game. And then the NFL took over, so college teams stopped. There's usually a game, but it's never a good game because those teams aren't going to play anymore and go against the NFL. But now, so they've taken over the Thursday, and then now they're taking over the Saturday with multiple games, and then there's that Saturday where and college football was a little hard-headed about it, but they said, no, we're going to set our dates. And if there's NFL games, there's NFL games. And that did kind of backfire a little bit. And so they asked the NFL, is there anything we can do to work on this? And I guess that, they said, yes, we'll see if it happens or not. But I'd be curious.
We'll see if it happens.
Continue to try to go.
If I'm the NFL and the NFL's a different story. You need to drop Thursday games, but that's just me. But we're gonna worry about player safety in the National Football League. We're gonna play on a Sunday and then play on Thursday. It's okay. We're good. That they're not really fast and strong and hit hard, but it's okay. You guys can turn around and play off of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday rest. It's not, and you don't have. And remember, in the NFL, there's only 48 guys playing in a game. Roster's 52. There's inactives, so it's not. I honestly think college football is going to be running on Thursdays. I think the NFL, I'm not a big fan of NFL on Thursday, but that's just me. A lot of players aren't either. So, and I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But as you compete, you get through this. And I think the other thing that's going to have to be a big thing is how is the conference alignment going to play into this? So if it's conference alignment and that's playing into it, now we're getting in different TV markets. And then now the other thing is which is really going to be really interesting is how far is the National Football League going to dive into the streaming, the Netflix, the Amazons, and things like that. That's going to be really interesting because now you can, if it's an NFL game and they know it's going to be on Netflix, right? Why don't you can put a college game with that? Because not everybody's going to have the Netflix. I mean, people just don't have, some people don't have it. They don't. Yeah. But now you're ESPN, CBS, Fox, they're not really competing. And the NFL is really diving into this streaming stuff. Now, I think college football is soon to follow. I mean, if you think about it, there's TV deals coming out that they're talking about. Apple TV wants to get into it, and we don't know what the TV market's going to look in the new PAC conference. And that's not going to happen until the football's set. Now they got to add a team. I think they got to add a couple of teams. And so, there's a lot of things just within Boise State. If you talk about Boise State, that conference is really interesting because we need to figure out what the ACC is going to do with the Florida State and Clemson lawsuit, because does that free up Cal and Stanford if one of those teams win? We don't know that. What is Memphis going to do? What is, Texas State, I've heard. And, is UNLV, I think, solid in the mountain, but, who knows? Just there's a lot of things money-wise that's out there that we just don't know, that I think a lot of people are starting to think, I think we made a mistake.
Yep.
Because I think there was some money promised early to keep in the Mountain West, and now lawsuits have happened, and now they're saying, wait a minute, we're not going to get as much money as we thought. And so now UNLV is like, where's my $27 million? Well, we can only give you 12. No, we're out of here. We can go to the Pac. So, the TV market is going to be a big thing, which is going to change the playoff. And so that's where I'm going. If you go to 16, we can actually wrap this in and go to 16, and the new Pac is all in here. Why doesn't the new Pac get 2 at large? Why can't they go in at 2? Because I think that's going to be your strongest non-BCS or however you want to call it conference. And so if that happens, I think two teams can come out of that conference as a one undefeated or one loss team. And so, I mean, come on. I think college football is jumping to conclusions about the playoff too fast until they formulate the rest of the conferences. We have to know what the Pac's going to look like. We got to know what the Mountain's going to look like. And then is there going to be more shakeup in the ACC? And so until that happens, I think this is so premature. The only thing we know that has to happen is to either 12 or 14 teams. We do know that. And then they're never, I think the whole at-large bid, the non-power conference, those days of getting a bye are over. They're going to make a play, which I'm okay with that. I think I stated before, you should get rid of the buys anyway.
Yeah, and I do think so there's 1 year left. This 2025 year is the last year on the previous one, and they have to to change it in time for this year, you have to have 100% approval on the board. And there was multiple conferences, including the Big 12, who benefited by getting the bye in this last game and an extra $4 million, saying that I'm not sure it makes sense for us to vote to get, to make the top 4 teams the buys instead of the top 4 champions. If that's the way it's set up, and it might help us get $4 extra million this year, like I'm not sure we're going to do that. I know the group of 5, like Gloria Navarez, the Mountain West commissioner, she's not going to rush to vote yes. Let's just let the top 4 teams have it. Now the power conferences in the past have said, you better vote to change this now, or we'll take away your spot when we do the next one next year. But if the Big 12's all it takes is the Big 12, I mean, as long as the Big 12 votes no, Gloria could go ahead and vote yes or whatever, because if all it takes is one vote. And so I guess I say that meaning this year in 2025, the chances I think we're going to have one more year of what it was this past year, where you do have the 4 teams getting the buys, the top 4 champions getting the buys, which could cause some, things like we saw last year. I'm guessing they find a way to not let Boise State be one of those 4 or whoever that group of 5 team is. They're going to have some pushback where they make sure they're not, that was a weird year in the ACC where Clemson, goes in and is ranked where they were and all that stuff. But this last year, it may not change, but then the discussions they're having, I guess I'm saying now, are for the 2026 season and beyond, even though they're talking now. So going to be, as I say, interesting to see how it plays out. And regardless of what they do, it's better than just a couple years ago when it was 2 teams decided by a computer to play in the game.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. The other thing I think that's going to happen is I think there's going to be an addendum or something within the contract stating we can make changes yearly. That's where I think they kind of are kicking themselves, because they should have said, okay, we should have made this adjustable after year 1. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, now who would have thought this was going to happen, right? But now I think they're kicking themselves like, we should have said, hey, by the way, we can make an addendum that needs 80% vote to pass after this, because it was the first year. So nobody knew. Now all of a sudden the first year is just chaos. And so I think in the future, they're going to say, wait a minute, we can make an addendums off of an 80% vote yearly. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC and they started leaning on the Big 12 saying, hey, wait a minute, you better vote yes. And then all of a sudden, now the power conferences can go to, all the other littler conferences saying, hey, we're up after this year. And if you don't get behind us, we're going to kick you out. We're just going to say, you know what? You guys need to have your own tournament, and the Power 4 conferences, we're going to take care of ourselves. We're the ones paying you guys anyway during the regular season. So we can make more money and not have to shell out $1.4 million to you. We'll just, you know what we're going to say? We're no longer scheduling you guys. So you're going to have to go find your money somewhere else. Well, if I'm Georgia, I'm going to go, okay, we're going to go play Rutgers. We can go play Syracuse. We can go play somebody else. And I don't have to pay them $1.6 million and your plane and your hotel, some of your hotel costs and your post-game meal. You just don't have, I mean, they can shut them out. And that will be devastating to a lot of athletic departments.
Yeah.
So now everybody else is going to come in and say, you better vote yes.
It's what I hate about this thing, how the SEC and the Big Ten just pretty much dominate, make all the rules now and get to decide it. And it just, the hierarchy, I guess, just, it's always been there unofficially. I don't know why it needs to officially be there now, but it is what it is. It's disappointing. I hope they, like I said, at least give the little guys a seat at the table still moving forward. And we'll see here. Brad, I appreciate your time for jumping on. I know you got a full-time job you got to get back to, but like I said, I think next week, if I count it out right, we will start kind of a series looking at some of the key positions and storylines going into spring. So we'll talk a little more actual football, and I'll give you a heads up on that so we can, come with some research and some facts here and really dive into this roster and kind of get ready the next couple of weeks for spring ball starting up. So appreciate you for jumping on as always. Are we going to see you? Are you going to grace us with your presence courtside tonight at ExtraMile Arena?
No. We got the Fighting East Hornets taking on South in a fine basketball matchup.
Okay. That's the biggest game in town tonight, not at ExtraMile Arena.
No, God, no. It's going to be at, I don't know where it is. I don't pay attention until I got to drive there. But there's one thing I want to say, because I've been a part of this, and I may get killed on this on social media, which I really don't give a rat's ass, it's amazing, and I've said I'm not a big basketball guy, but it's amazing how fast people forget what Leon Rice has done for Boise State basketball. And I can get fired up just talking about this. So now they have a little dip in a year, and now it's like, he's good. Get him out. Boise State basketball would be where it is without Leon Rice. Now, is there improvement? Sure. Did we hope was Boise hoping for a first round or NCAA win? I agree, and all that. But all of a sudden now he can't do a job. So I think this is when Boise State in this is kind of a time in Boise State basketball where they need to rally around him, and now all of a sudden get some recruiting in. And I agree, get the next NBA player, go get him, things like that, because Leon Rice is a fantastic man and an unbelievable basketball coach. And in being around him and his leadership qualities behind the media, behind the mic, away from the mic and all that stuff, he's unbelievable. He's unbelievable for what he teaches and what he installs, the toughness that he installs in that basketball team. They're just going to get better. But let's not do this. Let's rally around it. It's a difference if, he treats people the right way. Let's rally around him. Next year, if he needs NIL and needs all that, rally around it. Be a part of the solution, not the problem. And I'm a huge fan of Leon Rice, just because I'm a fan of the man he is and what he does for the basketball program and the way he gets behind those kids and the way he's leadership qualities. You don't find that anymore in college athletics. There's very few. And so sometimes getting people in here doesn't always work out like Spencer did. So that's my take on Leon. I think he's an unbelievable man. So, I hope they win tonight, pull off the upset, and get a great atmosphere, because at the end of the day, it's not Leon Rice. The kids need to feel the atmosphere, and it's about them, not about the basketball coach. Just remember that.
Drew says, "Preach, Brad." So you're getting some nice, you're getting positive.
Yeah. Oh, there's a few that targeted me since I got on your show. I've clapped back at some.
I think you said it. I think you said it perfectly. Big game tonight, playing the first place team in the conference, and then we'll see if they can win this one and try to go on a little bit of a run here down the stretch. Brad, appreciate you. We'll do it again next Wednesday, and like I said, dive into some more, points on this roster and players and position groups, and really start to lock in here for spring ball. So we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.
There he is. Appreciate Brad Bedell for jumping on. Deb saying you're so right, Brad. Yeah, so it should be fun tonight. Looking forward to the matchup with the New Mexico Lobos. 8 p.m. start time. Limited tickets remaining, but there are very few tickets remaining. If you're wanting to go to the game tonight, $10 tickets, and you also get a ticket for $10 to either the Utah State or the Colorado State game. But it's trending, at least from what I see online, towards a sellout tonight. First place team in the conference. Massive game tonight at ExtraMile Arena, and should be fun. Looking forward to being there, and hopefully this is one of those classic ExtraMile Arena games where the students show up, the fans show up, they're into the game from the tip, and hopefully Boise State can get a big win, and we can talk about it tomorrow morning. So appreciate you guys. You can go read Nathan Carroll's preview at BroncoNationNews.com, and you can watch our pregame show, 7 o'clock. We'll be live at 7 o'clock from ExtraMile Arena. We will have the great Jeff Grammer. We'll be doing another kind of simulcast of the two shows here tonight, 7 o'clock pregame show. Jeff Grammer from the Albuquerque Journal. We'll have Abe Jackson join us. Hopefully John Mallory, Nathan Carroll. Going to be a lot of fun on the pregame show tonight, and that will be 7 o'clock on the social media channels of Bronco Nation News and the Albuquerque Journal also, for that matter. So appreciate you guys. Go subscribe if you can. $50 BNN 50 deal. And you see all the great sponsors behind us. Jackson's and Taco Bell need to be added to that list, and some of our other great sponsors. Support the sponsors if you can, and sign up for a subscription at BroncoNationNews.com. At a minimum, please tell your friends, subscribe, click like, share, retweet, all that good stuff. Tell your friends about Bronco Nation News, and support the sponsors that just helped you watch a 90-minute Boise State sports show for free here on YouTube. So go read and check out BroncoNationNews.com. We will see you at 7 o'clock tonight. If you have a big screen TV, if you have a smart TV, it's very easy. You just go to the YouTube app on your TV. You go to Bronco Nation News, and you can watch our show right there on your TV as we get you set for tip-off, so you can still be on your phone, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. If your kid's borrowing your phone to play a game, whatever, you can put our pregame show and our postgame show right there on your big screen TV or your small TV, whatever. But if you've got a smart TV, just go to the YouTube app, throw us on there at 7 o'clock for the pregame show, and then when the game ends, throw us back on there for the post-game show as well, and hopefully talking about a Boise State win. So thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you live 7 o'clock tonight on the social media channels at BroncoNationNews.com, primarily the YouTube channel at BroncoNationNews.com, as Boise State gets set for a big one against first place New Mexico. We'll see you at 7 o'clock. Bronco Nation News Live, presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com, BroncoNationNews.com.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.